To start modeling this, we're actually going to start with the front, so we're just going to press 1 on the number pad to go to front view. And just to explain why we're starting with the front instead of the side, because I usually start with the side with sports cars and stuff like that. But for a bus, it's a lot different. Like, the side of the bus really doesn't have a whole lot of detail, and it's pretty much flat. It's pretty much a flat surface. And according to this picture, other than being a flat surface, it just has a little curve at the top. So there's really not much detail to the side of this bus. So starting with the side doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it's really easy to add the side in at any point. And really you want to start with a more high detailed area because the positioning of these vertices is going to be a lot more important than the positioning of these vertices, because these are just going to be essentially a flat surface, which is really easy to add at any time throughout the modeling stage, whereas adding in details like this is going to be more difficult. So if we start with this, we'll have a much better starting point, and then we can easily add the side once we have the curvature of the outside of this window. So we're going to start with the front instead of starting with the side. So we're going to start with some of the details that are on the front. We'll notice that this area down here is pretty flat, and then this is flat except that it gets pulled back. So we're going to start with this detail and we're going to work this way, and then we're going to start making these flatter areas because those are easier. So let's start by making this. So we're in front view and we're going to add a plane. So just go to the Create tab and click on Plane. Press Tab to go to Edit Mode, R, X, and then 90. And then press Enter. That's going to rotate the plane 90 degrees around the X-axis. And we're just going to add in a mirror modifier right away. So we're going to do Control R and add in a loop cut. Just left click, right click. And then we're going to delete the left side. So we're going to select this vertex, Shift select this vertex, press delete, choose vertices, and then go over here. If you need to, you can hold the middle mouse to drag this menu. Click on the wrench, click on Add Modifier, choose Mirror, enable clipping, enable this option, press A in this area to select everything, Z for wireframe, and then S to scale this down. It doesn't matter really how far you scale it down, we're just going to be moving this in a minute. So we're going to take this vertex and line it up with the end of this. So just select it with right click, press G, and bring it over to the end of that. And we're going to take this vertex, and actually I think I'm doing this wrong. We're going to pull this in, and we're going to take this vertex and line it up with this point. This blueprint's watermark is kind of in the way, so you might want to have to look at this area. So just press G and look at the left side to kind of position it. And I'll position this down here, and then select this one, press G, and position it at the bottom of this curve. And then we'll press E to extrude and position it at the top of this curve. And then press E to extrude and position it at the end. And then you may want to go in and tweak this a little to be more like that. Now we're going to position it from side view, so I'm going to select this one, press 3 to go to side view, period to focus in on it. This is the very tip, so we want it to be moved on the y-axis over to the very tip. This one I believe is the top of that curve, so you want that to be at the top of the curve. And this one is at the bottom of the curve. I do believe this reference may be a little off in comparison to the side, but that's okay. We're going to select this one, and in side view we're going to bring it over to the bottom, and I actually just want to move all these. I'm going to bring this down a little and then select all these and move them up some, or actually I just right click to cancel that. I think what we want to do is move this reference down. So we're in side view, we want to go to the one that says right view and just bring this down a little. That's probably a little better so that it matches up more with this other reference. So that's that. We're going to go to front view, and we're going to turn on vertex snapping. So left click here and change it to vertex. Select this vertex, grab it on the z-axis, hold control, and I guess you can't do it to the mirrored side, so you have to use the right side and just grab it on the z-axis, hold control, snap it to that vertex, and then do the same here. Grab it on the z-axis, hold control, snap it there. So the bottom of this is pretty much a straight shot as far as I can tell. You don't really have a whole lot of curvature going on there. So now I think we want to start making this line here, this crease line. We're going to do Control R, left click, and drag it over to about here, and then reposition as necessary to match up better with this line here. This part of the car, or the bus, I guess I should say, looks like it goes out a bit further, you know, I mean in like this direction. So it looks like we need to select this one and this one, and then bring it out a little bit further. So maybe if we go to side view, we can see a little better. So press 3 on the number pad, and then I think actually this needs to be out here. And then these two are too far out, so I'm going to select them one at a time and snap them on the y-axis to the respective top and bottom points. And then we're going to go back to front view with one, and we just want to start working our way up here. So we're going to select these two, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and just drag them up to this next line. Bring this over to continue lining up. This seems to be a pretty straight line, so I'm just trying to keep everything as straight as possible. And we're also going to make this, we're going to start making this inner part right here, which is right here. So we're just going to do Control R, left click, and then drag it over to here. And to make the top of this, we can do Control R, left click, and drag it down here. And then this vertex needs to move over, of course, to create that curvature. And then reposition as necessary. And I always try to keep these even on the z-axis. So if I move this one, for example, you would want to snap this one on the z-axis to that one, just to keep everything lined up as best as possible. So from this point here, if we go up to this point, it actually looks like it goes in more towards the center of the vehicle, like it starts to get pulled back. So we can take this point and go up to this point and then pull it back. But first I think, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna leave those where they are. Just gonna check real quick at what I did. Okay. So we're gonna take these two and we're going to E to extrude, bring them up to about the bottom of the light, because that's where this little crease point is. I think it shows it better on this side. Not really. Okay. So we're going to bring it to the bottom of the light anyway, approximately. And then we want these two selected, and we just want to bring them back in this direction, because that's how it looks like it's going according to this reference. So you want to bring it, you know, back in that direction a little bit, not too far perhaps. And then we're going to E to extrude and bring this up to this next point, which is actually this little separation area here, where the bumper is kind of separate from the front. And we want to add in this curvature here, so we're going to do Control R and left click and just drag it down slightly, and then we can select this vertex and drag it over slightly to create a better curve. I'm just adjusting this one to create a better curve as well. And we can bring this over, so we can do E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it to the center so that they merge, and then select these four and press F to make a face. Now we need the top of this curve, so we're going to select these two, E to extrude, and drag them up. And then bring this one over to create the top of that curve. And we can even select this one, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring it to the center to finish off this whole area here. And then with this one selected, we're going to select these two by holding shift and right clicking, E to extrude, and bring these up. And then we will E to extrude again to this point, and then E to extrude to the final point at the top. And these two we're going to use to make this curve, so I'm just going to press G twice, slide this one down, and then bring this one over, and this will create that curve that's here at the top as best we can with fairly small amount of geometry. So that is the front, the basic shape of that relatively flat area here. So this area down to about here is all going to be basically flat. So like, let's see, so this area here down to about here is all basically flat. So if we do 3 for side view, but it's also, it looks like it's pulled back a little towards the center of the vehicle. So if we just bring this back a little and then press R to rotate until it's just back a little bit, that'll probably be better. And just double check, make sure nothing really crazy happened, because when you do rotation sometimes it does mess up the Z value as well. So you just want to make sure, or depending on which view you rotate in will depend on which axis gets messed up a little. And then this top part here, of course, gets pulled back a lot more. So this top part is going to get pulled back a lot more than the rest of this. So we want to select this top part, except for the part that's not going to move, because this part right here, it would be this crease right here. So this isn't going to move. This is actually still part of this as well. We just want all the rest of the vertices that are part of this piece to be moved back and rotated. So we selected the rest of these vertices except for these, because we don't want to move these. I'm going to press 3 in side view and bring them back, and then rotate them to create a basically straight line between here and here, because it does appear to be relatively flat, relatively straight. And then we can go to object mode by pressing tab. We can go to tools and change it to smooth shading. And we're going to have to fix the normals, so go to edit mode by pressing tab, press A to select everything, Control N to recalculate the normals. And then we can take a look at what we have so far. This is it. So we can create this little inset here by doing exactly that. We'll do an inset once to keep this beveled edge, and then we'll inset again and bring it backward to create this whole area. So we're going to go to face selection, press 1 on the number pad, and Z for wireframe. We want to select all the faces that are within this area. So it's, in this case, it's these two. And then we're going to do I to inset, B for border, and do a small inset. And then do I for inset, B for border, and again do a small inset. And this time we are going to bring it backward to create the depth that's here. So we're going to bring it back and try to mimic the same amount of distance. So you want this distance to be the same as that distance. I think that's relatively close. And then again, we're going to go to front view and Z for wireframe, and one last inset, B for border. This one's just to correct the shading. Just do a small inset, and now we should have this. So we have that nice little indentation there. Looks good. So now for more details, we can create the distance here as well, you know, all the way around. It's kind of inset a bit. So we're going to do that. We're going to press 1 and go back to edit mode, and Z for wireframe, change it to vertex select. And we're going to take this vertex and this vertex. We can press E to extrude, right click to cancel, and just bring it over a little. And then we're going to follow this up to here. So we're going to select this vertex, E to extrude. This is just to create that crease or bevel. And then we're going to select these two and this one and press F to make a face, and then select these four and press F to make a face. So now we have, this will be for that crease line, that, the crease line, the beveled edge here, and then we're going to bring it inward some until it meets up here again. So we're going to take these inner ones, these three innermost ones, and press E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring them back. Again, trying to match how far back this is pulled. I think that looks somewhat close. And then we're going to take this one, shift select this inner one, and then shift select this one and press F to make a face. So now we have that inner area around this light here. We'll worry about making the light a little bit later. So this looks good for now, so we're going to save it. Just go to File and Save. The next thing we want to work on is the light, or the area around the light right here. So we already have this crease line, we created this earlier, and as far as I can tell, like when it moves over a little to start creating this area, I think it gets pulled back slightly. So we're going to take this part from here to here, extrude it over and bring it back a little. That'll be the first step. So we're going to press tab to go to edit mode, 1 for front view, Z for wireframe. So we want to take from here, the bottom of the light, up to here. So we're going to select all the vertices in between, E to extrude, right click to cancel, and then just drag it over slightly. And we also want to bring it back slightly, so we're just going to bring it back slightly so that it's more like this. So we're going to go back to front view, Z for wireframe, take a look at this again. It's a little curvature here, and then some more curvature up to here. So this we can bring over to here. This one, okay, so we're going to take these two and press Q to slide these down, and we're going to bring this one over to start creating that curvature. And then we're going to take this one, E to extrude, and bring it all the way over here. E to extrude again and bring it like this to create a curve on the bottom. And this point is, it comes to a point. It's not really curved at this point. So we can just bring this up with E to extrude and bring it up to approximately where we think it should be, right over here. And then we can have this one selected, shift select this one and press F to complete this light area. We can add in a little more curvature here if we feel that is necessary. We probably should. So we'll do Control R, left click, and G twice to slide this over to about here. Maybe a little closer, and then we can slide this one up with G twice just to get that curved bottom part. And just adjust it to your liking. Now we're going to have to align them in side view, so I'm going to select this point and press 3 to go to side view. So this point should be where this point is. And then I'm going to select these two, go back to side view, and bring them back. This is that further corner. So you want to line these up with that further corner. And I'm not sure these really have to move a whole lot, if any. Maybe back slightly, or like maybe this one needs to move back slightly. And perhaps this one needs to move back slightly. And now we can create this. We can create this crease that goes around, and then the inset, and then the area for the light itself. So we're going to alt-right click on this, and then select this vertex. Press 1 to go to front view, Z for wireframe, and we're going to press F to make a face. We're going to press I to inset and do a small inset. And then what we want to do is try to make an inset that's a similar distance to this. So perhaps I want this other one to be a little smaller, so I'm going to do Control Z and redo my inset to be a little smaller. And then I'm going to do my next inset, which is going to be the width of this here. This is the part that's going to be pulled back, but you'll notice it gets pulled back less and less as it gets towards this point, and you can't even notice like any difference up here, whereas over here it's pulled back a lot more. You can tell by the dark shading, like the light is not getting to this area, whereas over here the light is getting to this area just as much as it is over here, so you know there's really nothing hiding here. Whereas over here, this is obviously pulled in quite a bit more. So we don't want to move these outer points, but we want to move these inner points a lot more. And I can see from mine, I need to fix this because these two are crossing each other. So I need to take this point and do G twice and slide it up. Take this point, do G twice and slide it over. And maybe even bring this down a little. Once that's done, we're going to select all 4 of these. And we want to pull them in as far as we think it needs to be in order to pull this in. I think maybe that's good, maybe a little more. And then we want to pull these 2 in, but not as much as we pulled in these. And we want to leave that last one by itself, so we see we have the basic shape of these lights already. I think now what we want to do is go to face select and select this face, and press I to inset. Do a small inset, and then do I to inset, do a small inset, deselect this point, and bring this forward slightly. Go back to face select, select this face, and do I to inset and do a small inset. So we now have an interesting area for our light. I think what we need to do is fix this here. So I'm going to do Z for wireframe, select one of these, C for circle, select, get the rest. And this needs to be pulled forward some, and so do these actually, to be more like that. I think that would be better for us. This looks okay. We could probably improve on it, but for now, I think this is pretty good. So we're just going to save it by going to File and Save.